welcome to Crimes Through Time, where I talk about snapshots of crime history. Ethel Major was the only woman to be hanged at Hull Prison, but she was so close to getting away with the murder of her husband, had it not been for an anonymous letter sent to the coroner. Ethel Lily Brown was born in 1891, the only daughter of a gamekeeper. She was raised along with her 3 brothers on the estate of Sir Henry Hawley. She pursued a career as a dressmaker after leaving school at 14. This was normal for children at this time. She met Arthur Major in 1918, a returning hero of the Great War. They married on the 1st of June 1918, and their son Lawrence followed the next year. They continued living with Ethel's parents, and life was peaceful until 1929, when the family moved to Kirkby-on-Bane, where Arthur had a job as a lorry driver at the gravel pit. Ethel had a dark secret. She had become pregnant in 1914, and to avoid the scandal of a child born out of wedlock, her parents had decided to raise the child, Oriel, as Ethel's sister. There had been rumours for a long time about Oriel, and the local gossip made sure that Arthur was made aware. He confronted Ethel, and she confirmed everything, but refused to name the father. He turned on his wife of 10 years. Arthur began to drink heavily and physically assaulted Ethel. The marriage disintegrated to the point where Ethel would only spend the evenings with her husband and preferred to walk the mile every night to sleep at her parents' home. By 1934, the marriage was one of misery and hatred for all concerned. Ethel was 45 and was bad-tempered. She was disliked within the community. Arthur had become a womanizer and was having an affair with the next-door neighbour. Ethel, upon finding the letters from the mistress, Rose Kettleborough, embarked on a campaign of revenge against Arthur. She tried to have him evicted from the council house they shared, complaining to the police that he was often drunk while driving the lorry at the gravel pit, and executed a smear campaign telling all who would listen of his cheating ways. In retaliation, Arthur posted an article in the Horncastle News that he would no longer be responsible for his wife's debts. Ethel confronted Arthur about the love letters, asking what he was going to do about it. Quote, "Nothing. You better do something about it yourself." End quote. What she decided to do next would leave Arthur dead and Ethel walking to the gallows. On the 22nd of May 1934, Arthur took violently ill. Dr. Smith was called and he was convulsing, in great pain, and was unable to speak. Ethel blamed the corned beef her husband had recently eaten, but explained that Arthur was prone to fits and had had them for a few years. He was diagnosed with a mild form of epilepsy. 2 days later, she contacted the doctor to say that Arthur had died. A death certificate was issued with epilepsy as the cause of death. She contacted the rector, Canon Blakeston, to arrange the funeral later that day. Ethel was adamant the funeral must take place as soon as possible. The next day, a letter arrived at the coroner's office. It read, "Sir, have you ever heard of a wife poisoning her husband? Look further into the death, by heart failure, of Mr. Major of Kirkby-on-Bane. Why did he complain of his food tasting nasty and throw it to the neighbour's dog, which has since died? Ask the undertaker if he looked natural after his death. Why did he stiffen so quickly? Why was he so jerky when dying? I myself have heard her threaten to poison him years ago. In the name of the law, I beg you to analyse the contents of his stomach." It was signed, "Fair Play." A coroner's order was obtained to delay the funeral. Arthur's body, and that of the dog, had a post-mortem. Deadly levels of strychnine were discovered. The anonymous letter was correct. Arthur had been poisoned, and all eyes turned to Ethel. 2 pieces of circumstantial evidence, along with the state of the couple's marriage, sealed Ethel's fate. First, when interviewed by Detective Inspector Young, she said, quote, "I didn't know my husband had died from strychnine poisoning." End quote. Problem was, the police hadn't mentioned the poison to her. If she wasn't responsible, how did she know? The second was a small key found when the Major's house was searched. It was found to be the spare key for her father's poison box at his work. As a gamekeeper, he kept strychnine to kill vermin. Giving Ethel the means to commit the murder, more than enough motive, and the opportunity when she prepared the corned beef dinner. She stood trial at Lincoln Assizes in November 1934 and pleaded not guilty. She was defended by Norman Burkett, a very successful QC who had never lost a murder trial. However, even he could not find a good enough defence for Ethel. After a less than an hour's deliberations, the jury found her guilty, but did recommend mercy. But this didn't matter, as Sir John Gilmore, the then Home Secretary, condemned Ethel to death. The Lord Mayor of Hull wrote to Buckingham Palace to ask the King and Queen to intervene, stating that her execution would cause distress to the people of Hull, especially women who did not want to see a mother go to the gallows. However, it was in vain, and Ethel Major was hanged at 9 a.m. Wednesday the 19th of December by executioner Albert Pierrepoint. She was buried in an unmarked grave on the prison grounds. Arthur lies in St Mary's Churchyard in Kirkby-on-Bane. Lawrence and Oriel lived with their grandfather after Ethel died. The author of the anonymous letter was never traced. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and I look forward to welcoming you in the next one.